Welcome back. This week we'll continue our site analysis by observing our microclimates and the existing access and circulation at our sites. Some of you may be familiar with the herb spiral. It's an example of how microclimates work at a very small scale. An herb spiral combines space-saving design with the use of microclimate to create an herb garden in a very small footprint. If you imagine a path that's about a foot wide and about 25 feet long, and you curl that shape into a spiral that rises 3 feet tall, you will have a completed herb spiral about 4 feet in diameter. That means that you've curled 25 linear feet of space into a spot only 4 feet across. The south-facing side of the spiral will be a hot, dry microclimate with full sun exposure. This would be a great place to plant heat-loving herbs such as sage, rosemary, and thyme. The north-facing side of the spiral will be a cooler, moist microclimate, perfect for parsley, chives, or mint. The top of the herb spiral will be drier and have better drainage than the lower parts of the herb garden. The lowest part of the spiral is sometimes designed with a pond, which can include aquatic plants or herbs. Let's look at how microclimates can be observed on your site. Taking a look at the sun and shade on your property throughout the day will give you a framework for working with microclimates. If you can, take photos of your site from about 8 a.m. in the morning until about 6 p.m. at night every 2 or 3 hours. Snap a picture every couple of hours so that you can see how the sun and shade patterns change daily. Start a new layer of fresh tracing paper, label it microclimate, and sketch in your sun and shade. I usually use yellow to indicate that an area receives full sun or 8 or more hours of sun a day. If the area receives less than 6 hours, it is considered part shade. Part shade is normally colored in orange. Less than 4 hours is considered full shade, and usually I use gray. If you live in a cold climate, you want to make note of where the cold winter winds will enter your site. This may be a place to plant a windbreak in the future. In Massachusetts, the cold winter winds in my area generally enter from the northeast. Remember that winds are named for the direction they are coming from, not where they are headed. Research or use your experience to tell you where the winter winds enter your site. In the photo, the northeast winds are shown as arrows entering from the northeast. It's important to look for potential areas where frost might gather on your site. These are called frost pockets. Frost pockets normally occur when cold air drains downhill and settles in an area. They will most likely occur at the lowest elevations, but they can also occur in areas that are shaded by trees, as in this photo. Analyze the possibility of frost pockets occurring at your site. Frost pockets are most problematic for fruit trees that bloom early in the spring. If a frost comes after the tree has bloomed, it can kill the flowers, resulting in a loss of the crop for that year. On the other hand, some gardeners plant early blooming fruit such as peaches in the coolest areas of their site so that they will bloom later and not be as prone to frost damage. Look for other areas on your property that may have a slightly warmer or slightly cooler microclimate. For instance, the soil near a paved area or a rock wall will be a few degrees warmer as the sun warms the pavement, creating a microclimate there. In this Holyoke, Massachusetts front yard, Jonathan Bates and Eric Tonesmeyer are growing bananas. The plants don't fruit, but they come back every year and provide leaves for wrapping food when cooking and serving. Let's look now at access and circulation on your site. Sizing your paths and roads correctly and designing them with ease of use in mind is of the utmost importance. Think about access very carefully before planning any gardens at your site. We can look to patterns in nature to help us design our access paths. In the branching pattern, there's one main pathway with smaller paths branching off to the sides. We see this pattern in nature in tree branches, leaf veins, and river tributaries. The main path is usually wide enough for two people to walk side by side, or for a person with a wheelbarrow or cart to easily navigate the path. Another pattern for paths is the notion of outdoor rooms. I know one gardener who has a bathtub hidden away in a secluded spot. She fills it with filtered rainwater and then jumps in after a long day of gardening. You can make as many rooms with different themes as you'd like. This image depicts a mandala garden with a central path and keyhole beds. This pattern of paths works well for a forest garden, where dwarf fruit trees are planted into each keyhole bed. A mandala garden includes circles, squares, and a number of dividing axes. The circles represent culture and spirit, and the squares represent nature and matter. Together, the circles and squares symbolize wholeness. The circular shape allows the garden to be watered from one main point in the center. When considering access and circulation on your site, be sure to design places for materials such as compost or wood chips, and decide where to place sheds for easy access. Think about your shed use in the summer and in the winter, for instance, storing firewood versus storing tools. Begin your analysis with a fresh sheet of tracing paper for microclimates and a separate sheet of tracing paper for the existing access and circulation. Start thinking about the types of access and circulation that you would design for your site. Look very carefully at the circulation patterns at your site, especially where you'll need to move materials such as compost or mulch. Think about the trips that you'll take and whether you're going to be walking uphill with a full load or downhill. Do you need vehicle access to all parts of the site? Do you need to be able to haul firewood or to harvest fruit? What size paths would work best for the different types of gardens you envision? What patterns of paths fit best with your site? After you compile your notes, start a new map layer and organize your observations and interpretations.